Testing.
I'm cool so far. What's interesting is that of the traditional psalms, the two that you have in the thing are two that I had already chosen.
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
Well, that's why we put them in there.
yeah,
It's kind of standard
well, there's
across the board.
I love the way when you look when if you look at a cantorial book, there are 50 things you can do. There are three things you need to do, and 50 things you can do.
Right.
And it's like
What congregation are you at?
um, I am the officiant at a congregation in Sterling, Illinois.
Where's that?
It's about 150 miles due west. It is in farm country. This is a congregation. I've been out there for 30 years. Oh yes, they are farmers, like Jewish cattle ranchers. Jacob's beef. They were escapes from the Holocaust. Three brothers came out and started these farms. They developed, and when people say, "What are you?" I say, "We're reconservadox because we're the only thing for 100 miles around." We have about 30 families. I've been out there for 30 years because this isn't my full-time gig. I learned to do this. Actually, I had a rabbi teach me to do cantorial work when I was in college.
Do you live out there?
No, I live in Wilmette. I go out there. Not, they don't have service for a variety of reasons, and they sometimes will have a congregational service, congregational event service. I do my holidays, life cycle events,
Okay.
Other events, kinds of things, bar and bat mitzvahs. They have, and at this point, the three Jacobs brothers, all of their kids have stayed out there. And there's a third generation. So there's my generation. There's a generation now that are raising their families out there. So with about 28 to 30 families, there's about 150, 160 congregants.
And are all 30 families?
No, once they established an area, there people came in. They're not far from a branch of a university. They're not far from hospitals. So doctors, lawyers, they have. There's about, like I say, there's about 28, 30 families.
Do they bring their people here to be married?
There is a section of a Jewish section of the seminary out there. So in fact, I was just out there because one of the founding Jacobs brothers last fall.
Excuse me, Clifford, it's interesting. I gotta go.
Yeah,
see it.
absolutely.
nobody called you because on the cemetery it's all open, you know.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I wore a warm jacket and Kevin gave me his gloves, so my other gloves were with my
There's
other
a
gloves.
why don't you ladies cross over,
No,
go to the
I
tent,
didn't.
and you'll sit down. I don't know where we're supposed to be, in front or back on the side.
No, back here. Wait, actually, let me see. Yeah, it's got to be back here, yeah.
I don't know.
Because that's, everything's up there.
They're videoing. Oh, here are the books. Is this?
Please make your way into the tent. There's additional chairs, family up front. As you're making your way up to the tent, please turn your cell phones to silent mode. Ari, please bring the camera over to the side because there will be people in the way. Sure. Ari? You'll be able to sign the register book at the end of the service, so why don't we all gather so we can begin the service, please. The service will be conducted by Cantor LeRoy Schwaber.
Good morning. We're here today to honor LeRoy Katz, to honor his family, and to say goodbye. I would like, as we have such a lovely turnout and we have a minyan, I would like to begin the service with Baruch Hu, the call to worship. And before we do, I just want to say a few things about how this will go. Depending on your tradition, there are 3 or 4 things that are required in a memorial service, and about 50 or 60 other things that you can do. We're going to try to do the kind of things that I think honor LeRoy and his family. But again, it's March in Chicago, and none of us are getting any younger, so I promise not to keep you out in the cold too long. The call to worship is something that is done in pretty much any service. You probably know it from Shabbat, but it's done in any service where there are at least 10 righteous males. And that includes women, by the way. That's gender inclusive. So I believe absolutely we have more than 10 righteous human beings here today. So I will begin with that. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamborach, Baruch atah Adonai Hamborach le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Yotzer or uvrei choshech oseh shalom, uvrei et hakol. Blessed the Infinite One, blessed the Infinite One who is now and forevermore. Blessed are you, O eternal, our God, the sovereign of all the world, who fashions light and creates darkness, maker of peace and creator of all. So welcome to all of you. I think I speak as clergy, but also as a member of the family. I think I speak for all of us. Thank you very much for being here, for being here at this moment. I would like you to take a look in, if you have your little programs. One of the first things that they have here is Psalm 23. I think it's a lovely way to start. So if we could read together, it's on the first page. If you open the book, it's on the first page. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. One of the things that we do always in a memorial service is El Mole Rachamim. I've taken the version from the conservative prayer book. You'll find that I have a mishmash of things that I've taken from different services because I think this one is quite beautiful. You have a basic English translation in your guide here, in your little program, but I will begin with this, and I have to, in order to do this, I have to change my glasses. The joys of getting older. El mole rachamim, shochen bamramim hamtze menucha, nichon al kanfei hashchina, b'ma'alos kedoshim utorim, K'zahar kamazirim es nishmas LeRoy Katz shecholach olamo ba'avo shenod v'tzedakah ba'ad haskaras nishmasa began Eden tehem menuchasa lochen mal horachamim yasirehu b'sefer kanav la'olamim bitzror hachayim es nishmaso Adonai hu nachalaso v'yanuach al mishkavo b'shalom v'nomar amen. O God, full of compassion, who dwells on high, grant true rest upon the wings of Shekhinah, the divine presence, in the exalted spheres of the holy and pure, who shine as the resplendence of the firmament to the soul of LeRoy Katz, who has gone to his supernal world. For charity has been donated in remembrance of his soul. May his place of rest be in Gan Eden. Therefore, may the All-Merciful One shelter him with the cover of his wings forever, and bind his soul in the bond of life. The Lord is his heritage. May he rest in his resting place in peace. And let us say, Amen. This is often followed by a psalm that I think is really interesting, and I think would be a good way of honoring the present company here. When I die, if you need to weep, cry for someone walking the street beside you. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands and souls touch souls. You can love me most by sharing your simchas, goodness, and multiplying your mitzvot, acts of kindness. You can love me most by letting me live in your eyes and not on your mind. It's a fairly good translation of the Hebrew, but what really we are saying is we honor those who have passed by paying attention to those who are here. We honor those who have passed, who were close to us, by thinking, what would they do if they saw this situation? If they saw someone who was hungry, someone who was sick, someone who needed help, what would they do? And by doing that, we honor the memory of those who have gone before us by acting the way we would imagine they would act in difficult situations, in easy situations. It's not a difficult situation to be kind. It's not a difficult situation to understand what somebody is going through. We honor those who have gone before us by behaving in the way they taught us to behave. And, as someone who is not just a clergy person here, but as somebody who's a member of this family and who remembers from my childhood all of the fun things that this family did, I'd like to say a few words about the family that is here. One of the things that I remember from early on, and I have said this before to many of the people in this group, is that I lived in an apartment literally next door to half of the, one door down was one cousin. 3 doors down was an aunt and another set of cousins. Around the corner was my grandmother and my uncle. We lived in this community. And there is a reason for that. When our families immigrated to this country, we weren't always welcome everywhere. So we formed communities. We had a community started on the west side of Chicago, and then some of them moved to West Rogers Park, and then Skokie, and then we traveled in groups. And one of the things that was wonderful about it is that I could walk into pretty much any kitchen on the block and after school, and somebody would feed me a snack and tell my mother where I was. And that's the community that I remember. Now, we didn't all live on the same block, but we did see each other. And so one of the things that I remember about this generation of my family is how they formed community. We went to each other's weddings, we went to all kinds of events, all of that stuff. But the thing that made me smile when I was trying to think about what to say today to you was that I think the thing that I remember from my childhood about the community of family, about the community, was the Cousins Club. Anybody remember the Cousins Club? I'm seeing people shake their heads. Yes, the Cousins Club, because this was an extended family, was a group. It was a social group. We met once a month or so, either at somebody's house for dinner or lunch or whatever, or at a restaurant. I'll wait. We met at these places, and we socialized. We learned to understand who our family was. We created a community, and that community became, even as somebody in a generation down, in a different generation, people that we knew we could depend on. And I think if there's a legacy for LeRoy, for Maxine, for Robert, for this generation, is this creation of community. And I have to tell you, you taught me how to create a community. The Cousins Club taught me that even though for instance, in my generation, I didn't have very many cousins, first cousins. I have actually 2 first cousins from my father's side. That's it. But you taught me that family could be more extended than that. And that you can create a community amongst friends. You can create a community amongst, you don't have to be genetically related to be family. And I think I've taught my children to do the same thing. And that's, I believe, is the legacy of this generation, of this particular family, of LeRoy, of Maxine, Iona and Marty, Robert, my mother Irma, grandma who's passed, they had taught us the value of community, the value of family, the value of connecting with other people. And I think that's a kind of wonderful thing. My own adult daughters will tell me, again, my daughters happen to have more cousins because my husband is the youngest of four, and there are a lot of cousins. But they have what they call family. And they find security and pleasure in this development of community, which is what makes me so happy to see this much community here today. I would like at this moment to recite the Shema, and then I will, and hang tight because once again, I don't know where the glasses went, but I can't see without them. So I will get there. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Blessed are you, Lord our God, Lord of King of the universe. The Lord our God is one. I would like at this point to read one more psalm and then to ask, I believe Ed and Maxine are going to have some words to say. So I will read this. My protector, you are our abode, one generation to the next. Since before the mountains came to birth, before the birth pangs of the land and the world, from eternity to eternity, you are divine. Truly 1,000 years are in your eyes like yesterday. So quickly does it pass, or like the watchman's nighttime post. You pour upon them sleep, they sleep. At dawn, life blossoms and renews itself. At dusk, it withers and dries.
Sorry if I scared you.
Okay. Would you like to come up and chat? Okay, yeah.
Here. Stay
Well,
where
you know what? You can stay there and I can
you
bring,
the mic.
yeah, that's a good idea. I was just gonna say.
Give me 1 second, so there's a couple people watching online. Let me turn the camera. Okay. You can speak.
Hello? Okay. Okay, this is dear Lee. Lee and I met on a blind date 60 years ago, and he became my best friend. He what?
Does she have your glasses?
He proved, he what? I don't have
Do you
one.
need my glasses?
Oh, no, he supported me in every way. He was completely dedicated to our son Eddie, taking to movies and ball games with his friends. He was close to his cousins for many years. He also had cousins Sherry and Jeff, and he made them interested in sports. Since Lee was a sports enthusiast, he always was on the phone, calling his friends and cousins, Norman, Sandy, Tony, during and after all the games. Lee had many jobs, but the best one working with Elliot for many years that evolved into a beautiful friendship. Lee had many friends in high school also. They're no longer with us, Harold, Mike, but we stayed involved with their friends and their children. One unique thing about Lee is that he was personable and he was very likable and friendly. I never met anyone who was so easy to get along with people, and people attached to him very easily. Then we met Harriet and Norman Kremen. Being the person that he was, friendly, likable, we developed a meaningful friendship and we also met wonderful people through them. We also met Harriet's neighbors, Ari, Lana, Michael, and Leah. And we did not know Michael shared the same birthday as LeRoy, May 28, 1937, although Michael was a lot younger and now he's attending the University of Pittsburgh. If Lee could speak and say, he would say that if Lee could speak, he would like to say, and say thank you to a very special lady, Beth, who, with the last few years, has helped him and guided him and supported him. To all his cousins and friends from Mariano's, I hope that they remember my husband's spirit and soul as for the person that he was. Okay.
I don't trip on the way. Should I use this one?
Yeah. For the time being, so that you can hold on.
You can learn it.
I have not met most of you, but I am Lee's first cousin. His mother and my mother were sisters. You know him in later years, but I know him in the early years. Lee and I were kind of raised like brother and sister because my mother and his mother were so very, very close. Lee used to come over all the time and we would play games. I remember that one time my father brought home some kind of a toy for me, and he carried it on the train and so forth all the way, and Lee turned around and sat on it, and my father comes out and says, "That was not a chair." But we used to go to Riverview. We loved that. Our grandmother used to go too, and we have pictures of her where she was eating cotton candy and didn't like it that much. Neither did Lee and I. My mother reminded me many times that, as a boy, boys get dirty and they play and they do things, and I was the clean little girl, shouldn't be any germs, and I wore my little white gloves, and Lee would hold my hand, and my mother said I used to say to him, "Doity, don't touch my hand." We played a lot. We liked to play ball. We loved to go to the beach. As we lived very close, that time out north. Maxine, you remember that Lee lived on Estes and Sheridan, and I lived, then we moved there later. For some personal reasons, we didn't communicate for a while, but fortunately, we did get back together in the last couple of years, and I was very, very grateful for that. We really appreciated ourselves in a different way, that we got back together. I'm happy to see Eddie here. I know that Lee, by seeing Eddie, really sparked his desire, caused him to want to live more. The smile that he had, I know that you did that for him, Eddie. And that's something that you can always remember. You were an only child, he was an only child, I was an only child. I don't know what happened with our mothers, but they didn't. But we shared a lot of things, a lot of memories. His mom died when He was only about 22 years old. And that was very, very difficult for him. And the father was, I don't know if any of you knew the father, I don't know, they didn't know Larry. Larry was a macho type of man. Lee was very affectionate. I don't know if you know, he even took me to my senior prom. Yeah, we went together. I was tall, and the boys, you know, I thought, gee, that's terrible to be tall when you're a teenager, you know, and you don't realize until later when you start shrinking that you think about, oh, thank God I started out tall, right? But with my cousin, we were very, very close. As a matter of fact, that's where I met the first love of my life. When I was with Lee, that he loved hockey, and as many of you know, he was an avid sports fan. Anything that was on television or to go to the game, he loved it. And you couldn't talk to him on the phone even, I'll call you back after the game. But I will miss him so much because we didn't have many cousins. I was born late in life, and therefore my first cousins were old enough to be my second cousins. And so it was just Lee and myself. So I wish him peace. Thank you to everybody who's been friends of his, that has been a part of his life. He would talk to me about many of you and how he loved going to Mariano's and visit with all of you, as you know. And to my cousin Maxine, I will always be there for her. I was the maid of honor, as a matter of fact, when they got married. Yeah, and my parents gave him away, and his father was his best man. Remember that? That was a beautiful day, a long time ago. But he loved Maxine dearly, and Maxine was the best partner that you could have. She was always in his corner, always devoted to him, and he to her. What was it that you said that he wrote you a love letter in the hospital when he couldn't speak, but he could write a letter? So that gives you an idea, of the love that he really felt for her. So, bless you, my dear cousin. I will miss you, knowing that you are not in my world, but I will always remember everything about you. And we love you so much. Eddie, you want to speak?
Hello. I haven't met a lot of you here, but my dad told me all about all the people from Mariano's, different places. So one of the things I was talking to my mom about this morning, I said, you know, when you look at, like if you look at someone's life or you look at people's life and you go, what do you think about when you meet somebody? You know, what did you remember about them? Did you have fun with them? Were they friends with you? And I said, I couldn't think of anybody that LeRoy ever met who didn't like him. And I thought, God, I can't think of too many people who fall under that category. How could you have somebody that everybody likes? But it's true. It didn't matter their background, their race, their color, their creed, their religion, didn't matter. They would say, oh, I like your dad LeRoy. Indian, African American, Spanish, didn't matter. They just liked LeRoy. And you know, you take it for granted because you're like, okay, well, that's my dad. You like my dad, right? But at some point I was thinking, recently in the last couple of years, I was like, wow, this is actually unusual that you'd have somebody like this. So that's the one thing that the rabbi said, is that you think of like, what do you think of when somebody passes? Well, you want to think of, well, what would they do for somebody else? So, sorry.
We have all the time.
So that's what I would like to wish you for this, and wish for Dad, is that when you're with someone the next time, what would you do for that other person? What would LeRoy want you to do for that person? What would he say to that person? And that's what I would like to leave you with for his gift. So that's all I have to say. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so there are several things, and there's something that I should have asked you ahead of time, but I didn't. But do we want to do this before Kaddish?
Yeah, we should lower the casket.
Yes.
For Israel.
Okay, so.
Pallbearers, can I ask you to come back? We're going to proceed with putting the casket on the grave. So what we're going to do, the cemetery workers are coming here to assist us. We're going to go past the grave and then we're going to turn around because we're actually going to place his feet first. So we're going to go down this way. Turn around. Cynthia. Take a look.
I'm going to just turn myself a little bit so that I can.
Rabbi, here's some Eretz Israel.
Thank you.
You want to maybe sprinkle it on top of the,
I.
then they'll lower it.
Yeah. Okay.
Apologize. Well, let's let them lower it.
While they are lowering the casket, I would like to read something for you. Birth is a beginning, and death is a destination, and life is a journey, from childhood to maturity, and youth to age, from innocence to awareness, and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength, or strength to weakness, often back again, from health to sickness, and back, we pray to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination, but life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage to life everlasting. I like to read that during the lowering of the casket. We commit our bodies to the earth, but not our souls. LeRoy isn't gone. LeRoy is in your memory. LeRoy is in your hearts and your minds and your actions and the way you relate to each other and to the world. So this journey, which seems to be at an end, it's not at an end at all. It's a beginning. Jews have an odd concept of heaven or the afterlife. We don't believe in, angels sitting on clouds and any of that stuff. We believe that as long as a person's memory is carried forward, they have life everlasting. It's why we name our children after people who were important to us, who have passed. This is a way station on the journey to life everlasting. And let us say Amen. We are going to do the Kaddish. That is, pardon? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Yes. Lloyd is getting everything ready. Okay, got it. So we will do that, and then we will do Kaddish, and then I have a closing prayer, and we will get out of the cold. I'm looking out there at you, some of you, and I realize it's
bitter.
All right, so
Lloyd will be here, and then we'll finish.
okay.
Lloyd, there's a discussion if she can do Kaddish or not. If you want to go discuss.
You're in charge. There's earth. The casket's been lowered.
Okay.
But they're going to bring the cover over it right now, though, so it'll interrupt the cottage with the tractor going by. I think we should wait till it's.
That's absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. I just wasn't sure what was.
Many rabbis and cantors wait until everyone's had a chance to put earth in the ground.
And that's fine. That's fine. Like I said, I'm just looking over the board, making sure everybody's covered.
Cynthia, there's probably, if you could keep that, there's probably more.
Ladies and gentlemen, our tradition is to participate in the burial. Did you want to?
Yes, no, but
Okay.
please.
So the family could come up first and put either earth with a shovel, or there's a little pail here with some extra Eretz Israel, earth from the Mount of Olives in Israel. And you normally do 3 scoops or 3 shovels. A lot of people do the first shovel or scoop upside down, and you then don't pass the shovel or scoop, but put it back in the earth because it's considered a mitzvah. And the true mitzvah is if you do the whole thing yourself. So if you don't want to be assisted with the mitzvah.
Okay. Family first, and then anybody who would like this,
I can help.
please step forward.
We'll all do it. Did you notice Dominique went first because Dominique Clement? Dominique and Danny are taking here. Danny, and Martin down there. Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to announce that the family is inviting everybody back to Cappy's Restaurant, 7200 Dempster Street in Norton Grove for a meal of donuts. You can take Harlan, which is the street directly down. Take Montrose down as far as you can go. Make a left, that's Harlan, and you take Harlan right to Dempster.
Thank you.
Also, if you haven't signed the register book, it's in the back corner of the tent. Please take a moment to sign it.
We are ready to conclude. We will, in the back of your little program is the cottage. The word is cottage. Please rise.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're concluding the service. If you could stop the conversation for a moment, this is the most sacred part of the service.
Yes, please rise with the cottage. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rava, v'yalma divrach yirutei v'yamlik malchutei, v'chayechod v'yamechod v'chayei l'chol beit Yisrael, v'agalav izman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rava mevorach le'olam u'lomei almaya, yitvorach v'yishtavach v'yitpoar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadad v'yitaleh v'yitalah shmei l'kudusha b'richu. Lahelo mikol birchata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, damiran v'yalma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim, aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. To conclude our service today, I would like to offer a blessing to the living, to the congregation here. It's the blessings of Aaron, the priestly blessing that you hear on Shabbat and on high holidays and all of those things. In Hebrew and in English. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Yair Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha, Yisa Adonai panav elecha, Yasem lecha shalom. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord lift his countenance upon you and give you peace, and give you peace. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Be gracious, the Lord be gracious, gracious unto you. Amen, 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 amen.
Repeat after me. Baruch. Atah. Adonai. Eloheinu. Melech. Haolam. Dayan. Ha'emet. Today being Thursday. Shiva goes until next Wednesday morning. So you wear the ribbon on the right side of your son's left. And you wear that throughout until next Wednesday morning after 1 hour. You don't wear it on Shabbat, so you can remove it Friday night and put it on Saturday. And then Wednesday morning when you remove it, if you're able to, go outside, at least to the street, but if you're not able to, that's fine. If you're able to, you should walk around the block. That traditionally, that's the Shiva.
Okay, we'll walk to the curb. Okay.
Okay. And I have a Shiva candle for each of you that will burn approximately the same time there. If it continues burning, ask them just let it